We are looking at the board question answers of heredity and evolution. This is chapter 9. Important questions on heredity and evolution. The first is, what is gene? What is gene? So gene is, you might have heard about genetics. So it's a basic unit of inheritance. Gene is the basic unit of inheritance. Inheritance means what you inherit or what organism inherit from their parents. So gene is a part of a chromosome which controls the appearance and also the characteristics that is being heredited, means hereditary characteristics. What is meant by analogous organs? Take suitable example, explain how they support the theory of organic evolution. So let me tell you about the example first so that you understand what are the analogous organs. The wing of birds and the bats, they both have wings and they look similar, but they have different design in their structure. In fact, the wings of a bat is bat's hand. So they have a common function of flying, but their origins, they are not common. So birds and bats are not closely related. So now we can answer this. What are analogous organs? Analogous organs are those organs which have different basic structural design and developmental origin, but they have similar appearance and they also perform similar function. What is sex chromosome? So sex chromosome is a chromosome that operates in the sex determining mechanism of a species. Many animals, they have different type of sex chromosome. For example, human, we have X and X in female, X and Y in male. We'll talk about this in later questions. Define evolution. Describe Darwin's theory of evolution. So evolution is like this. It's a gradual process. See, we are human beings. Do we know from where we have come? It is being said that we are closely related genetically with the chimpanzees. How we have transformed us to this level. So this is the evolution. So evolution is the sequence of gradual changes which take place in the primitive organism over millions of years. Please understand, it's millions of years it has taken to new species to be produced. And since this evolution is of the living organisms, that is why we call it as organic evolution. Now, Darwin's theory of evolution. Charles Robert Darwin, he gave the theory of evolution in his famous book which is called as The Origin of Species. Now, the theory of evolution which is proposed by Darwin is known as the theory of natural selection, and this is known as Darwinism. What he has proposed, what he has said, according to his theory, Darwin's theory of evolution, there is natural variation within any population, and some individuals, they have more favorable variations than others. Some, they have favorable, there is a normal thing which is that the next generation will be having certain variation, but some of them will have favorable variations, and populations remain constant, almost constant, fairly constant, even though all species, they produce large number of offsprings, like the cat, like the pig. They create lot of offsprings, but only some of them survive, and this is due to competition or struggle for existence between the same and different species. So the struggle for survival within population, it eliminates the unfit individuals and those with favorable variations, and they survive and pass on these variations to their progeny, that means the next generation to continue, and this is called natural selection. Then the favorable variations, these are accumulated over long time, long period of time, leading to the origin of new species. The sex of children is determined by what they inherit from their father and not their mother. Justify. I'll tell you, the father has X and Y chromosome, The mother has X and X chromosome only. Mother has only X chromosome. Father has X and Y chromosome. When this X and X will combine, a girl will come. When this Y and X will combine, a boy will come. Now, it is only Y, father has Y, mother has no X, no Y. Mother has only X. So, the sex is, or the gender of the child is determined only by the chromosomes which are provided by the sperm of the father. Define variation in relation to species. Why is variation beneficial to the species? Now, variation refers to the differences in the characters, that is the traits or attributes or characteristics among the individuals of a species. Now, variations are beneficial in the species. Why? Because they will enable the organism in order to adapt themselves to the changing environment, because the environment is always changing. It can be hot sometime, it can be cold sometime. So the organism has to adapt themselves to the changing environment. And also the variation forms the basis of the heredity, and they form a raw material for the evolution and development of new species. Describe briefly 4 ways in which individuals with a particular trait may increase in a population. So what happens? There are 4 ways in which individuals, we have to talk about 4 ways with particular trait, means special trait, that may increase in population. These are like this. The sexual reproduction results in variation, this we all know. Now the individuals with special traits, they survive to attack of the predators, and they multiply while the other will perish, because they have special traits in order to save them from any external effect or external attack. Now the genetic drift, they provide diversity without any adaptation, and the variation in the species, they may lead to increased survival of the individuals. Now what are fossils? What do they tell us about the process of evolution? Now fossils, these are the remains of dead plants and animals which were buried under the rock and soil millions of years ago. These are called fossils. Now how do they tell us about the process of evolution? The fossils of different generations, they have some features similar to one species, while some features, they are similar to some other species. So in this manner, they show the linkage between 2 species, and they also tells us one species evolved from the other. Distinguish between the acquired and inherited traits by giving one example of each. Why are traits acquired during the lifetime of an individual not inherited? Now your eyes are brown in color. Your father has brown eyes. This is what you inherit from your father. But you learn you learn guitar, or say if you come to body that you may eat that much or so much that you become fat. Now this is your acquired trait. I hope you got the idea. Now the acquired trait in a particular is a particular characteristic that is developed during the lifetime of an individual, like eating, becoming fat. So these characteristics, they are not genetically controlled and cannot be passed on to the next generation. The example is the loss of weight due to starvation. This is an example. Now the inherited trait is the transmission of a particular characteristic from the parents to the offsprings, generation to generation, like brown eyes or brown hairs. So these traits are genetically determined or characteristic that distinguishes a person. For example, the color of the skin. Now these acquired traits, they cannot change the DNA of a germ cell. That is why the acquired traits cannot be inherited over generation during the lifetime of an individual. This is what you acquire in your lifetime, and this is up to you only. The human beings who look so different from each other in terms of color, size and looks, they are said to be belonging to the same species. Why? Justify your answer. Now the human beings are said to belong to the same species. Why? We have certain reason. I'll give an example. If you go to, say, Jammu Kashmir, and if you go to Northeast, you'll see in Jammu Kashmir, mostly people have long nose. In Northeast, they have small eyes. Now this is the criteria, this is the way you understand by their looks that they belong to the same species. DNA studies, number of chromosome is same, all have this common ancestor, and they interbreed among themselves to produce fertile young ones of their own kind. Here in this place, people marry themselves and they create the same kind of young ones, progeny. Give an example each of characters that are inherited and ones that are acquired in humans. Mention the difference between the inherited and acquired characters. Now, eye color or hair color of a person, these are example of inherited because you have inherited them from your father or mother or maybe your ancestors. Whereas the body weight is an example of an acquired character. You eat too much. You don't eat, you become thin. So this is what you have acquired. So the basic difference between the inherited and acquired character is that the inherited character is passed on from parents to offspring, that is parent to child, and the acquired characters, these are acquired by the individual itself in his lifetime, and it depends on his lifestyle. It has nothing to do with the next generation. Explain the mechanism of sex determination in humans. There is one or more option in year 2010. With the help of flowchart, explain the brief of how the sex or gender of a newborn is genetically determined in human beings. Which of the two parents, the mother or the father, is responsible for determination of sex of a child? Now let me tell you again, XX female. Female has only XX. Male has XY. Now XX combines, this will be a girl. XY combine, that means it will be a boy. This is how it is done. So mechanism of sex determination in human beings, the sex of individuals is genetically determined. So sex determination is the process by which the gender of a new born individual can be determined. So human beings, they have only one unpaired sex chromosome, and the sex chromosome of male is XY as I suggested, and female has XX. Now the sex of child depends on what happens at fertilization. Now see, this mother has X, now it combines with the father's X. This is the sperm, father's sperm. Now it combines, it gives you XX, that is the female child. Now if the mother's ovum, that is already, she has only X. So when it combines with the Y of the father's sperm, it gives rise to a boy. So the father is responsible for the determination of the gender or a sex of a child. With the help of suitable examples, explain natural selection. So I'll give you an example. Let us assume that there are red beetles in green bushes. So the green bushes, red beetles are easily identifiable. And due to the variation during the sexual reproduction, one green beetle evolved among them. Now we have a green beetle. One green beetle has come. Now the green beetle can pass the color to its progeny. Now green beetle will form green beetles. New green beetle will be formed. Now take idea of a bird which is crow. Now crow eats this beetle. In green bush, red is easily identifiable. So crow is going to eat these red beetles. But in green bushes, the green beetles are not identifiable. So crow will not be able to eat the green beetles. That is why the green beetles will be, you can say the population of green beetle will enhance or increase. And this is the natural selection which gives survival advantage. How is the equal genetic contribution of male and female parents ensured in the progeny? During the sexual reproduction, the female gamete or egg cells, they fuse with male gamete or sperm cell which are haploid. They form zygote. So zygote is diploid which contains 23 chromosomes, 23 from mother and 23 from father. So in this way, the equal genetic contribution of male and female parent is ensured in the progeny. This is the way. What evidence do we have for the origin of life from this inanimate matter? Stanley L. Miller and Harold C. Urey, they provided evidence regarding the origin of life for inanimate matter. What they did, they assembled an atmosphere similar to that existent on early Earth, ancient Earth. So the atmosphere had molecules like the ammonia, the methane, and the hydrogen sulfide, but no oxygen, and it was kept over water at temperature just below 100 degrees centigrade. Now spark were passed through the mixture of these gases, and at the end of a week, 15% of the carbon from the methane had been converted to simple compounds like the compounds pertaining to carbon, which are amino acids that makes up the protein molecules. So life in this way arose afresh on Earth, and this is the evidence of the inanimate matter. Explain the terms species. This has come from species. So speciation and natural selection. So speciation is the evolution of reproductive isolation among one's interbreeding population. That means the development of one or more species from an existing species. You can simply say that the formation of species from earlier species is the speciation. And what about the natural selection? Natural selection, on the other hand, is a process, according to Darwin, which brings out the evolution of new species of animals and plants. In natural selection, those who have special traits, they live and others perish. Explain with example how the following are evidences in favor of evolution in organisms. First is homologous organs, then analogous organs and fossils. So forelimb of human and the bird, these are homologous organs. You will say that one is used to fly, the other is used to do daily work, but it's not the case. They are homologous organs. They have same structural design and development origin, but they have different functions and appearance, as I just indicated. So homologous organ help us to understand the organism that has evolved from the common ancestor. The common ancestor, that is the more common ancestors or the more common characteristics these species will have, or two species will have, they are more closely related to each other. Analogous organs, these are those organs, design and development origin, they are, you can say, they are different, but the similarity in appearance and the similarity in the function is there. As we just said that the wing of bird and the forelimb of a man, these are homologous. Now the wing of bird and bat, they look similar, but they have different design in their structure. So they have a common flying function of flying, but their origins are not common. So birds and bats, they are not closely related. The second thing is the third part we are taking, fossils. So fossils and their study is very useful in knowing about the species which is no longer alive on Earth. So they provide evidence and missing links between the two classes. They are very helpful in forming a sequence of organisms in the pathway of evolution. So the fossils have an importance in deciding evolutionary relationship, right? Archaeopteryx is a fossil bird. Now it has feathers, fused bones and beak, which are exclusively bird structure, and it also has some features which are found in reptiles, like the teeth or jaw, like the jaw and the claws and the free fingers, and also a long tail. And this fossil provides a clue that birds, they might have evolved from the reptiles. Give an example of body characteristics used to determine how close two species are in terms of evolution and explain it. So homologous organs, they help us to identify the relationship between organisms. So these characteristics in different organisms would be similar because they have inherited from common ancestor. For instance, the forelimb of human and the wings of birds, they show closeness between the two species because the organs have similar basic structural design of limbs, though it has been modified to perform different functions. What are homologous organs? can the wing of butterfly and the wing of bat can be regarded as homologous? Why? Homologous organs are those organs which have the same basic structure, design and developmental origin, but they have different functions or appearance. For instance, the forelimb of frog, lizard, bird and a human, they seem to be built from the same basic design of bones, but they all perform different functions. And the answer for the second part is no, the wing of butterfly and the wing of bat cannot be considered homologous organs because they have a common function, that is for flying, but their origin and structure, they are not common, so they are analogous organs. What is meant by the term speciation? List 4 factors which could lead to speciation. Now, speciation it has come from species. So, species formation or speciation is the evolution of reproductive isolation among one's interbreeding population, and the factor which can lead to this speciation is the genetic drift, that is over generation this genetic drift this may accumulate which leads to the speciation. And also the natural selection, Darwinian. So, natural selection that may work differently in different location which may give rise to speciation, and severe DNA change. Also, a variation may occur which does not allow sexual act between the two groups. A blue color flower plant denoted by BB is crossbred with that of white color flower plant denoted by BB. Right? This capital BB, blue color flower plant, is crossbred with the white color flower which is BB. State the color of flowers you would expect in their F1 generation plants. So, see here we have BB and small bb. So, all the combination which are possible is given here. When B combines with B, this is this. When B combines with B, this is BB. When this B combines with this and this combined with this, so all the possible combinations are these. So, the F1 generation will be blue flower, blue flower, blue flower, blue flower. Right? Now, what must be the percentage of white flower plant in F2 generation if flowers of F1 plants are self-pollinated? Now, in this case, first let me answer the first one. The colors or the color of all the F1 generation will be blue as you see here. And the second part is the percentage of white flower plants in F2 generation will be 25%. How? See, now BB will cross with BB. This is the F1. So, F1 will combine to form F2 generation. Now, when we combine this BB cross BB, means B small b and B small b. Now, the combination will be like this. Capital, when this combines with this will be like this. Then this combines with small b and B, this will be this. When this combines with this, BB. When this combines with this, it will be BB. So, these are blue flower, and here we have a white flower. And this is blue flower. So, there are four, and there are four possibilities. There is only one white flower which is equal to 0.25. If you want to find out the percentage, that is 25%. Right? Then state the expected ratio of genotypes BB, capital BB and capital B small b in the F2 progeny. So, the ratio of this BB, how many are there? 1. How many these are? These are 2. So, this is 1:2. Distinguish between homologous organs and analogous organs. In which category would you place the wing of birds and wing of bats? Justify your answer using suitable reason. So, this we have already seen. The homologous organs and analogous organs. Homologous, homo means same. That means they have same basic structural design. Analogous means from analogy we take. So, they have different basic structural design. And homologous organs, they have same basic structural design, but they perform different functions. Analogous organs, though they have different basic structural design, they perform similar functions. And homologous organs, their appearance are different, while in analogous organs, the appearances are similar. Wing of birds and wing of bats. Birds and bats wings, they are analogous organs as they have different basic structural design, but they have similar appearance and they perform similar functions. Define the term evolution. Evolution cannot be equated with progress. Justify this statement. So evolution is the sequence of gradual change which takes place in primitive organisms over millions of years, and then new organisms are formed, and this is very gradual. See, the years are millions of years. So evolution cannot be equated to progress from lower form to higher forms. This seems to have given rise to more complex body designs, even while the simpler body designs continue to flourish. For instance, human beings have not evolved from chimpanzees, right? Our genetic similarity is there, means we are closely related to them, but both have common ancestors. If we cross pure bred this tall dominant pea plant and pure bred dwarf, that is recessive pea plant, we will get a pea plants of F1 generation. If we now self cross the pea plant of F2 generation, then we obtain pea plants of F2 generation. What do the plants of F2 generation look like? The answer is all plants of F1 generation will have tall plants, and state the ratio of tall plants to dwarf plants in F2 generation. This we already discussed in the stretch in our theoretical discussion, so it will be 3:1. And the third one is state the type of plants not found in F2 generation but appeared in F2 generation, mentioning the reason for the same. So the dwarf, that is the smaller trait, is recessive trait which was not expressed in the F1 generation. The recessive trait gets expressed in the F2 generation after the self-pollination. How are fossils formed? Describe in brief two methods of determining the age of fossils. So when the organisms means the plants and animals, they die, their bodies decompose due to the action of microorganisms. But sometimes the body, or at least some part of the body, they may be in such an environment, such temperature, pressure and humidity and other conditions that does not let them to decompose completely. They do not decompose completely. So all such preserved trace of living organisms, these are known as fossils. So how to estimate the age of fossils? We need to find the age. For that we employ two methods. If we dig into the earth and start finding fossils, it can be assumed that the fossils closer to the surface, means if this is the surface, the fossils here, they are younger, more recent one, and here they are not that recent as these are, so they are older. So if we dig the earth and start finding fossils, it can be assumed that the fossil which is closer to the surface, they are more recent ones, and those which are found deeper in the layers, they are the older ones. And also by detecting the ratio of different isotopes of the same element in the fossil material, we can estimate the age of fossils. State the meaning of inherited traits and acquired traits. Which of the two is not passed on to the next generation? Explain with the help of an example. Now, inherited traits are those characteristics that is being genetically transmitted and genetically be transferred from parents to offsprings. But the acquired traits, these are those characteristics which are developed during the lifetime of an individual. Means the individual has developed by itself. So acquired traits are not passed on to the next generation because it is being acquired by a particular individual. For instance, if we breed a group of mice, all their progeny will have tails. Now, if the tail of these mice are removed by surgery or by accident, it is being removed and it is allowed to breed the next generation, mice will also have tails. It is not the case that because the mice is not having a tail, the next generation of this mice will not have a tail. So if these tails are also removed and allowed to breed, the progeny of mice will again have tails. So the removal of tail by surgery is the acquired trait. It does not change the genetic formation of the germ cell or gene of the germ cells. Therefore, it is not passed on to the next generation. An individual cannot pass on to its progeny the experiences of its lifetime. Justify the statement with the help of an example and also give a reason for the same. So experience comes with age. So experience which is achieved during the lifetime of an individual, this does not make any change in the gene of the individual. For instance, If a person reads a book on birds, the knowledge he earns by reading the book does not make any change in the gene. That is, the knowledge will not get automatically transmitted to his next generation. Such a trait is called acquired trait. For example, if mother and fathers are doctors, it is not always that the son will become a doctor. He may become an engineer, like this. So this is one more part we have taken on the board questions of this topic. Thank you so much. Take care of yourself.